to start this investigation was based on political bias. Do you agree?
Well, what he actually, I think you have to understand what the IG's methodology is, and I think it's the appropriate methodology for an inspector general. He starts with limited information. He can only talk to people who are essentially there as employees, and he's limited to the information generally in the FBI. But his approach is to say, if I get an explanation from the people I'm investigating that is not unreasonable on its face, then I will accept it as long as there's not contradictory testimonial or documentary evidence. In other words, it's a very deferential standard. And all he said is, people gave me an explanation and I didn't find anything to contradict it, so I don't have a basis for saying that there was improper motive. But he hasn't decided the issue of improper motive.
Have you?
No. I think we have to wait until the investigation, the full investigation is done, and that's the fundamental distinction between what Durham is doing and what the IG is doing. Durham is not limited to the FBI. He can talk to other agencies. He can compel people to testify. One of the problems in the IG's investigation, I think he would agree, is that Comey refused to sign back up for his security clearance and therefore couldn't be questioned about classified matters. So someone like Durham can compel testimony. He can talk to a whole range of people, private parties, foreign governments, and so forth. And I think that is the point at which a decision has to be made about motivations. And I think right now it would be premature to make any judgment one way or the other.
He's made a judgment. But who's counting? Now, you watched Barr and him talk about what Horowitz can and cannot do and what Durham can do. Horowitz had a lot of cannot. I will also again say that Horowitz is a yes man. That's probably why he got promoted. He's not a corrupt yes man, but he is a yes man. So as we watch him and Lindsey Graham interact, you'll understand.
The former FBI Director James Comey said this week that your report vindicates him. Is that a fair assessment of your report?
I think the activities we found here don't vindicate anybody who touched this.
Okay.
So we see Horowitz, hands in front of him. He's a nervous man. Yes, people, generally, they don't like confrontation. And you have to keep that in mind when you see Horowitz. He doesn't like confrontation. He likes the law. He follows the law. And if he can avoid breaking it, being the yes man, he's going to do it in ways that would blow your mind. And when he can't do it, he will write down truth and go hide. His morality is stronger than his spinelessness, which is a good thing. It doesn't necessarily he's going to go stand up for anybody when it needs to be done, only when he's been forced to.
Let's run a clip here. This is what Comey said in 2018. It would be nice to have sound. Do we have sound? Okay.
You also see his demeanor. There's a little break. He's answered something that's really hard. This doesn't vindicate anyone. And he's really relaxed as a yes person can be. Taking a sip of water. He's actively looking around and at people. It's another thing that you look at. People who will give eye contact to others is usually a good sign of a strong mind as far as the words coming out of their mouth. I don't have to hide from the words coming out of my mouth because it's truth.
Never mind, I'll read it. Director Comey, the reporter's asking him, can I ask you a question?
As you saw it almost cut away, Horowitz is tight-lipped. He doesn't want to give more than he has to, and he doesn't want to let anything out.
Question on FISA abuse. It's a major issue for the Republicans. Do you have a total confidence in the dossier when you used it to secure a surveillance warrant and also in the subsequent renewals? This was asked in December of 2018, about a year ago. Comey, I have total confidence that the FISA process was followed, that the entire case was handled in a thoughtful, responsible way by DOJ and the FBI. I think the notion that FISA was abused here is nonsense. Would it be fair to say that you take issue with that statement?
Certainly our findings were that there were significant problems.
So when Comey speaks about FISA, you shouldn't listen.
So he's tight-lipped about it, but he says the truth. stress. And this is pretty much him throughout the testimony. He is bound by the legality of what he's allowed to do. He is a yes man, so the stress that comes from that will always be there. But apparently he has a very strong moral compass when it comes to the law.
Listen, you should listen to Mr. Horowitz. He's not vindicated, and to be concerned about the FISA warrant process is not nonsense. Christopher Steele, is it fair to say that he had a political bias against Donald Trump?
Given who he was paid for, there was a bias that needed to be disclosed to the court.
Does it seem that he personally had a bias, not just because he's on the payroll of the
You also see a lot of stress in his forehead as it's answering this.
Democratic Party, but
Well, we found in the course of this and heard from Mr. Orr about his comment to him that he was desperate to prevent Mr. Trump's election.
again, this is the guy that provides the dossier that gets the warrant over the top against Carter Page. He's paid for by the Democratic Party, and he personally believes it's bad for Donald Trump to win. He's marketing the dossier, which is a bunch of garbage, to anybody and everybody. To me, that's important. Is that important to you?
Any evidence of bias is supposed to be disclosed to the court and to the department lawyers.
Okay, so let's play this out. In January 2017, when they figure out the primary subsource and they talk to the Russian guy that provided Steele all the information, what should the FBI have done at that moment?
Two things. Reconsidered internally where things stood, and most importantly, told the lawyers at the Justice Department who they were asking to help them get a FISA.
And there are 5 people in that interview, right?
Correct.
Okay. Are you going to make sure those 5 people are known to the higher-ups?
They are all part of the referral that I mentioned earlier.
Okay. Did they have a duty to report to their...
Now that gives him stress. Remember, yes man. He's a yes man. And you see him squeezing his wrist. It's like a petting motion. And that is about all we're doing on Horowitz.
If you'd like to learn more about analysing body language, there is a video course available on Mandy's website for Gold subscribers, where Mandy teaches more about her techniques of deception detection. There's also other content such as the Crime series and Interesting Minds series, available to both Gold and Silver subscribers.
If you like it, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.